A Night Drive by Reddit user ScaredyCat666. I was driving down a lonely road at night. I haven't seen another car, building, or person for hours. Outside of my headlights, there was only darkness and seemed to stretch on for eternity. If I turn off my lights and stare into the darkness long enough, I think some stars and blurry shapes would appear, indicating trees and hills that would form a horizon. But as it was, only me, my car, and a few meters of illuminated road seemed to exist. I was dead tired. The hypnotic sight of the yellow road markings flying towards me didn't help. A few hours ago, my radio turned to static with some snippets of distorted voices and music in between. I tried to concentrate, tried to keep myself awake. My eyes burned as they were getting drier and heavier. I closed them shut for a moment, then violently held them open. But they started to burn again quickly, so I repeated the process a few times, lavishing the relaxation I felt when they were closed and fighting that same feeling to open them again. I noticed how I slowly lost that fight a little more each time. Just one more time, I thought. The road was straight, so I closed them for a little longer, only for half a second, to make it count. Suddenly, a shock ran through my body and I heard a violent screeching sound. Realizing that I made friends with the road barrier, I steered away from it and brought my car to a slow, controlled halt on the side of the road. Holy shit! I thought. I was breathing heavily and my heart was racing. After sitting there for a while, I got out and lit a cigarette, inspecting the damage of my car and contemplating the possible damage my car and I could have endured if I would have woken up a second later. 'Tis but a scratch, I thought. But I couldn't go on like this. I opened my trunk, looking for anything that would keep me awake. To take a nap in the car? Normally, yes, but it was really cold outside, and when the motor wasn't running, the heating in my car would last only as long as the battery would, giving a real possibility to the freezing to death scenario. Besides, getting there late was not an option. Aha! Instant coffee! I took out the can from my trunk and shoveled a few good scoops of it into my mouth. Then I washed it down with some Mountain Dew. A nasty taste overtook my mouth and nose. My stomach couldn't make sense of it and I felt nauseous. Perfect, I thought. The unpleasant feeling and the caffeine would keep me awake. I went on. I felt less tired and more confident that I could make it to my destination on time. I only blinked for a moment and suddenly... What the fuck? I was still driving in the middle of the road, but on a totally different one. I was on a dirt road in the middle of a forest. No pavement, no road markings, only trees and bushes on either side of the road. The transition was so instant. Did I fall asleep? But why am I on a forest road now instead of in a ditch? I couldn't have gotten here if I was fast asleep. I would have had to take a turn. Was I maybe sleepwalking or sleep driving? I could have stopped and turned around. I didn't. Don't ask why. After a while, I saw a small green light in the forest. When I drove closer, I recognized a wooden hut. It wasn't a real hut, though. It was very small, like 3 feet in height, and there was only one wall in the back. The little roof was held up by wooden pillars. In it's this small humanoid figure. However, it wasn't real. It was a witch, the ones you'd put on your lawn for Halloween. It wore a tattered black robe and a big hood covered most of its face in darkness, but I could make out its long pointy nose, crazy eyes, and a wicked smile. The eerie green light came from a little light-up skeleton hanging on the back wall. As I drove past this surreal scene, I could hear a recording of a comically evil laugh resonating from the skeleton. The whole thing gave me the shivers, even though it was clearly some kind of childish decoration put up by some childish individual. I felt very uneasy. I drove on, trying to forget what I just saw and discard it as totally irrelevant to my situation. But who would put this up, and why? Do they live close by, somewhere in the forest? Or is it actually close to an urban area and the forest only a small patch of green? Where the hell was I anyways? Just drive, I thought. You'll get out of this somehow. As I took comfort in this thought, I calmed down. The darkness surrounding me was beautiful, and passing trees seemed to shield me from whatever evil the world had to offer. I liked this calm, and I let myself drift into it. I only had to drive, nothing more. After a while, a huge grayish form appeared in the middle of the road. I slowly stopped. As it got caught in my headlights, I could see that it was in fact a huge buffalo. Motionless, it stood there staring at me. My lights reflecting from its eyes made them glow creepily. I felt mesmerized by the creature. We just looked at each other for a while. Then it started walking towards me. It made its way to the driver's side window and tapped it with its horn 3 times. I rolled down the window. It looked at me for a while, its deep breathing forming a cloud. In a deep, earthy voice it said, "If you are at an airport and you want to get your luggage, but there's 3 suitcases that look exactly like yours, which one would you take?" Thought about this for a minute. Then I replied, "I'd take all 3 of them, I guess." The The buffalo nodded. Then I walked past my car into the darkness. I drove on. I tried to tap into that calm, peaceful feeling again, but I couldn't. Something was off. Something felt wrong. But what was it? I should have been out here a long time ago. Suddenly, I saw a little green light in the forest. As it came closer, I saw that it was in fact a little wooden hut on the side of the road that radiated that same exact green light as before. What the hell? As I drove past it, I could see that it was in the same hut with the same witch and a little skeleton. But this time the witch wasn't standing inside the hut. It stood in front of it, closer to the road, closer to me. With the green light in its back, its front was completely dark. It scared the hell out of me. I stepped on the gas. I wanted to put as much distance between me and that hellish thing as possible. How could this be? I didn't make any turns. The road is just straight. And how did that thing move? It was just a decoration, made of wood or plastic or whatever. As I tried to calm myself, there in the distance appeared another green light. No, please, God. My heart sank. It was the same hut. The witch was standing even closer to the road. Fuck! I drove even faster. I felt panic rising in my chest. Please, Lord, please. And again, I saw the green light. This time the witch stood right next to the road, hand extended. As I sped past her, her long, pointy finger scratched the side of my car, producing a horrible sound. I let out a scream. Drops of sweat formed on my forehead as I pushed the pedal to the floor. I looked in the rearview mirror and saw her standing in the middle of the road. When I looked ahead again, all I could see was a bunch of trees rushing towards me rapidly. A loud bang. Gravity stopped and all went black for a moment. When I came to, I heard the motor hiss, steam and smoke coming from the hub. The front window shattered. Everything was blurry. I felt numb and dizzy. Blood covered the side of my face. I didn't realize it at first, but there was something in the car with me. I heard it behind me, scratching, moaning. With an unbearable feeling of terror, I turned my head. She's here! I felt her icy claws grasp my shoulder. As she leaned towards me, I saw her face. Nothing could describe the horror I felt. Never have I ever seen something so horrible. I screamed so hard my lungs felt like they would burst. I couldn't stop. And then... Sir? 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 A young acne-ridden teen in front of me. I was at the counter of a gas station. Some potato chips and a coffee in hand. Sir, can you hear me? The teenager employee behind the counter asked. He sounded annoyed. I'll be $4.99, please. Sure. I confusedly handed over the money. How the fuck did I get here? Thank you, sir. Please step aside for the next customer. The store was big. Brightly illuminated and music was playing softly from the radio. I just stood in the corner gripping my chips and coffee like a teddy bear. Trying to compute the situation, everything seemed normal. There were people. I could see my car parked outside in one piece. Was it all a dream? I took a deep breath and walked towards the exit. As I walked past the aisles, something weird caught my eye. In the fridge, the milk cartons had a picture of a buffalo on them. I took one of them in my hand. It read, "Which one would you take?" Reading this sent a shiver down my spine. I put it back and walked out of the store quickly. My car was the only one in the parking lot. A girl in her teens laid on my hub, smoking a cigarette. Part of her hair was dyed a neon pink and she had a piercing going through her right eyebrow. She was wearing a wool cap, a jacket that was way too big, ripped jeans, and combat boots. What the fuck? Move it, I said. She turned her head, looking at me, took another drag and exhaled. Why? Because it's my car, I replied in anger. I don't see your name on it. She smiled mockingly. I was losing my patience. Listen here. I had a pretty rough night and need to get moving, or I'm gonna be late. She sat up. You're in no position to worry about that. You'd better look out for yourself now. She looked at me with a serious expression on her face. Normally I wouldn't pay attention to adolescent punks, but this one triggered something in me somehow. What do you mean? Where do you think you are, old man? Hey, I'm 27. Just tell me where you are right now. I opened my mouth. I'm on the road to something about my wife. I started to think, where was I? Where was I going? Couldn't say. Only I knew I had to get somewhere and that it was urgent. The girl got down from my car. You don't know. Like reflex, I took out my phone to have some clue as to what time it was, where I was, and where the hell I was going. All I could see were wild scribblings and letters and numbers, constantly changing and shifting. I couldn't make sense of it. Weird, ain't it? She smiled. So what? She looked at the sky with a pondering expression on her young face. See those little glowing things? You mean the stars? Yeah, those. Can you see how they move? I looked up and they were moving, each in its own direction, like a swarm of flies. I've never seen something like that. Nobody has, she replied. When I looked around, the gas station was gone. Where are we? Who are you? What the hell's going on? I started getting nervous. Well, you're not in Kansas anymore. Time and space are kind of... Suddenly my phone rang. I somehow took the call. At first all I could hear was static, and some sort of voice emerged. 20, 21, 80, 81. Right by you. The gray moon bleeds. As it dissolves, you lose your soul. As it is lost, your eyes will become a window. You will see me. Then the voice continued saying random numbers. Creeped out, I looked at the girl. Who is it? She asked. Is it the witch? The moment she asked the question, the voice started shrieking. No, there were two voices, one shrieking and one groaning in a deep, inhumane manner. They got louder and louder. I tried to hang up, but the horrible sound continued. It got so loud that I threw my phone to the ground and stomped on it. It shattered. The silence overtook the parking lot. I sank to the ground. The girl held my shoulders as I tried to catch my breath. I looked up at her. Where am I? Is this a dream? In a way. Dreams are your mind trying to make sense of certain fields of energy, forces, entities, drives. You're inside and your outside become blurred in this process. How you experience them is in your head, but in a certain sense, they are real. In a dream, however, you're just a tourist. Nothing hurt you since part of you is still on the other side. Here. She looked behind me. I turned around. There on the far end of the parking lot stood the witch. Holy shit! We clung to each other, cursing and screaming in terror. We gotta get out of here! I yelled. We got into my car. I turned the key, but it wouldn't start. Come on, you piece of shit! I tried again and again. While in panic, I noticed how the small demon-like creature slowly started walking towards us. Hurry up, old man! She's coming! The girl gripped my arm so tight it hurt. The creature was almost here. The car finally started. I pushed the pedal to the floor and drove out of the lot like a madman onto the road. There were no street signs anywhere, and before I could think, we were driving through the forest. What the hell is that thing? I asked. She looked at me seriously and said, Stay away from her, okay? I don't know how she got here, but she's dangerous. She'll try to keep you here forever. I nodded. For a while, I just kept speeding. Everything was quiet. The sight of the trees passing helped to calm us down. After a while, I broke the silence. What's your name? Daria, she said. Oh, like the cartoon character? She rolled her eyes. Yes, like the cartoon character. She lit a cigarette. You shouldn't smoke, you know. How old are you anyway? I have no age. Not knowing what to make of this, I said, I shouldn't smoke anyway. Her eyes rolled even further back than before. Yes, Dad. After another period of silence, I asked, So what's your part in all this? She looked at me with a puzzled expression. What do you mean? Well, like, I don't know. Why were you at the gas station? What's your deal? I don't know. Her expression turned bitter. What's wrong? I asked. She started looking at her hands awkwardly. I can feel myself getting older. What's happening? I don't like this. What the fuck is happening? Curse a lot. So do you, she shouted. Relax, I said. I have no idea why, given our present situation. After a while, some strange lights appeared all around us. Blue, red, green. They seemed to follow us, flying around us like fireflies, only much bigger. They became greater in number. The girls started breathing heavily. All we could see were the lights. The force was gone, even though I was driving very fast with no discernible surroundings and only the lights that kept our pace. I couldn't make out if we were moving or not. Realizing this is a strange feeling overtook me. I let go of the gas pedal. What are you doing? Keep going, old man, she said. Why? Where are we going? She looked at me with fear in her eyes. Even though I was far from feeling secure, I answered her gaze with a smile. It's going to be okay. She gulped and her breathing was getting slower, just like the car. I killed the engine and everything got quiet. The lights danced around us, illuminating our faces in the most marvelous of colors while we just sat there, looking at them in awe. After a while, they started vanishing, one by one. The idea of complete darkness sent a shiver through both of our spines, and before long, it became reality. We sat there in silence for a while, not knowing what to do now. Suddenly, everything became bright. It was like the sun rising, but much faster. The blinding light was accompanied by horrible moaning, shrieking, and scratching. The car rocked back and forth. As our eyes adapted to the brightness, we saw them. Witches. Dozens of witches, all around us. They were clawing away at the car, moaning and grunting like a horde of zombies. The noise was unbearable. Daria covered her ears screaming, and I let out a scream myself. Looking around us with nowhere to go, I started to panic for a second. Then I looked at the girl. She was screaming in terror. Somehow, this sight forced me to calm down. In what may have been our last moment, I looked at Daria and smiled. Her face was shrugged up and wet from the tears untightened and gave way to an expression of bewilderment. And then, even though she was still shaking and crying, she smiled back. Daria, I said calmly, if you're at an airport and you want to get your luggage, but there's 3 suitcases that look exactly like yours, which one would you take? She replied, I think I'd take all 3 of them. Facing death and beyond, she smiled at me. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. We embraced. The noise became so loud our ears would break, and the light was as bright as 1,000 suns, burning us up in its blazing whiteness. Silence. I awoke in a hospital bed. It took me a while to understand where I was, but after a while I remembered. I was on a business trip when my wife went into labor. She was 3 weeks early. When I got the call, I decided to drive through the night to be there for her. Then everything went blank. As I regained my memory for the last few days, I lost what I knew about last night. Or was it a dream? Something about a gas station? As I tried to remember, my wife walked in. In her arms, she held the prettiest little thing I've ever seen. Hey, my love, she said. We hugged and kissed like we haven't seen each other for over a year. She put the baby in my arms. It was so tiny. I was close to tears. You had an accident, honey, she explained concernedly. You probably fell asleep at the wheel and crashed near the hospital. You were in a coma for 3 weeks. Trying to process that, I said, I'm so sorry, honey. I wanted to be there for you so badly. It's okay. I'm just happy you're alive. Big idiot, she said with a warm smile. It's funny. The doctors told me the moment she was born you were out of danger. That was on Halloween Eve. I looked at the little wonder sleeping in my arms. It's a girl, right? Yeah. How do you know? Couldn't answer that. I just had to smile, being really happy and full of morphine. After a while, my wife asked, Have you thought of a name? Yes. Daria. Like the cartoon character? Yes, like the cartoon character. Thank you all for listening. I'd like to thank ScaredyCat666 one more time for allowing me to read this story for you guys. Hope you like it. If you really did like it, please like and subscribe. And let me know what you think. I really enjoyed doing this. That was a lot of fun. I'd love to do more. If you guys like it, let me know. Thank you.
Nobody but you, body but me, body but us.